Listen, life ain't easy. I know you've been struggling, stressing, and holding on to things that are weighing you down. But I'm here to tell you something powerful. Let it go and trust God. See, too many of us are walking around with burdens we were never meant to carry. We're trying to fix everything, control everything, and understand everything. But you can't do God's job. That ain't your role. Your role is to trust Him. Some of you all have been holding on to pain for too long. Somebody hurt you, somebody betrayed you, somebody walked away, and you're still carrying it. But let me ask you something. How is holding on to that helping you? Is it making your life better? No, it's making you bitter. It's keeping you stuck. You gotta let it go. I know what you're thinking, but I don't know what's gonna happen next. That's the point. Faith ain't about knowing the whole plan. It's about trusting the one who has the plan. You may not see a way, but God already made one. You may not understand it, but He does. Listen, the reason some of you are exhausted, frustrated, and broken is because you're fighting battles that ain't even yours to fight. You're trying to push doors open that God already closed. And let me tell you something, when God closes a door, you better stop banging on it. He shut it for a reason. Some of you, why all are stuck? Because you refuse to release what's already dead. That relationship ended, but you're still holding on. That job fired you, but you're still looking back. That opportunity passed, but you're still crying over it. Let it go. If it's meant for you, would have stayed. I know letting go is scary. Trusting God is scary, but so is staying stuck. So is missing your blessing because you were too afraid to take a step of faith. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't bless before just to stop blessing you now. You ever seen a bird stress about where its next meal is coming from? No, you know why? Because God provides. You ever seen the sun stop shining? No, because God is faithful. You ever seen the ocean run out of water? No, because God is abundant. And that same God, the one who created the whole universe, is the same God watching over you. But here's the catch: He ain't gonna force you to trust Him. That's a choice you gotta make. Either you're gonna hold on to your problems, your fears, your worries, or you're gonna hand them over to God. You can't do both. See, some of why all keep asking God for a breakthrough, but you won't let go of the very thing blocking your blessing. You keep praying for peace, but you won't release the chaos. You want new opportunities, but you're still entertaining old distractions. God is saying, I got something better for you, but you gotta let go of what's not for you first. Let me tell you, when I learned to let go and trust God, my whole life changed. I stopped chasing things that weren't meant for me. I stopped worrying about stuff I couldn't control. And I started walking in faith. And when I did that, blessings started following me. Doors started opening. Peace started flowing. You can't move forward if you're still looking backward. You can't step into the next chapter if you keep rereading the last one. God has so much more for you, but you gotta trust Him enough to release what's not meant for you. Some of y'all keep asking God to fix something He's trying to remove. You're asking Him to bless a situation that's blocking your real blessing. You're begging Him to make something work that He never designed for you. That's why you're frustrated. That's why you're tired. That's why you feel stuck. I need you to hear me right now. God always has something better, but you gotta trust Him. You gotta have enough faith to say, God, I don't know what's next, but I know you do. You gotta be bold enough to walk away from what's no longer serving you. You gotta believe that if God takes something, He's making room for something greater. Listen, I know some of why all feel like giving up right now. You feel like life ain't fair, like you're struggling more than you should be. But let me tell you something, you are so close to your breakthrough. You are so close to the blessing God has for you. The enemy wants you to give up now because he knows what's coming next. But don't you dare quit. There are too many people walking around carrying unnecessary burdens, pain from the past, fear of the future, guilt over mistakes, and regret over missed opportunities. These things don't just sit on your shoulders, they weigh you down. They drain your energy, cloud your mind, and steal your peace. The longer you hold on to them, the heavier they become. But here's the truth, you were never meant to carry that weight. God didn't create you to walk through life burdened. He created you to walk in faith, trust, and purpose. And from the past can feel like a chain wrapped around your soul. Someone hurt you, someone betrayed you, and you keep bringing it in your mind. But holding on to it doesn't change what happened. It doesn't bring justice and it doesn't bring peace. All it does is keep you stuck. When you hold on to the past, you're letting it define your future. But when you let it go and place it in God's hands, you free yourself to move forward into the life He has planned for you. Fear is another weight that keeps people trapped. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of the unknown, it stops people from stepping into their blessings. But fear is a liar. It whispers doubt into your mind and tells you to stay where it's safe. Again, it convinces you that you're not capable, that you're not worthy, that things will never change. But that's not what God says. God says He has a plan for you. He says he will never ever leave you nor forsake you. He says all things are possible for those who believe. When you trust him, fear loses its power. Then there's the weight of guilt and regret. Too many people are stuck in a cycle of I wish I had or I shouldn't have. But listen, God already knew every mistake you would make before you made it. And guess what? He still loves you. He still has a plan for you. Beating yourself up won't change the past, but trusting God will change your future. His grace is bigger than your mistakes. His mercy is new every morning. You are not defined by your failures. You are defined by God's love and purpose for you. When you let go of pain, fear, and regret, you create space for God to move in your life. You open the door for healing, for new opportunities, for peace, and for blessings beyond what you can imagine. But you have to make the choice. You can either keep holding on to what's weighing you down, or you can release it and trust that God's plan is greater than anything you've been through. And when you choose to trust him, that's when everything starts to change. Too many people are exhausted, not because they're physically tired, but because they're carrying a load they were never meant to carry. They're trying to control everything, every outcome, every decision, every problem, as if the weight of the world is on their shoulders. But that's not how faith works. Faith is not about trying to figure everything out. It's about trusting that God already has it figured out. When you spend all your time worrying and stressing over things you can't control, you're only making life harder for yourself. Some people wake up every day with a plan, a strategy, and a backup plan in case the first one doesn't work. There's nothing wrong with having goals and working hard, but at some point, you have to realize that some things are simply out of your hands. No amount of planning, stressing, or forcing will change what God has already ordained. When you try to control everything, you're not leaving room for God to work. You're not allowing him to do what only he can do. Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means surrendering. It means saying, God, I trust you more than I trust myself. See, when you try to control everything, you're acting like you know better than the one who created you. But the truth is, there are things happening behind the scenes that you don't see. There are connections being made, doors being opened, and obstacles being removed, all without your knowledge. God is always working, even when you don't realize it. The moment you stop trying to do God's job, that's when peace enters your life. That's when stress and anxiety begin to fade. Because instead of trying to fix, manipulate, and force things to happen, you start to trust that God is already handling it. You start to believe that he knows what's best for you. You stop running in circles and start walking in faith. And that's when you realize that life was never meant to be lived in a constant state of struggle and worry. And this is where everything begins to change. When you truly surrender and trust, you stop wasting energy on things that were never in your control to begin with. You stop losing sleep over things that God already has a solution for. You start living with confidence, knowing that the same God who has carried you this far will continue to carry you forward. And when you embrace that truth, you step into a life of peace, purpose, and divine favor. Too many people spend their lives banging on closed doors, trying to force their way into places that God has already shut off. They think if they just try harder, push more, or refuse to give up, things will work out the way they want. When God closes a door, it's not a punishment, it's protection. He's not denying you, he's directing you. He sees what's on the other side of that door, and sometimes what you're begging for isn't what's best for you. Rejection hurts. Losing an opportunity, a relationship, or a dream can feel like the end of the road. But just because something didn't work out doesn't mean your future is over. God doesn't close doors to leave you empty-handed. He closes them to open something greater. If you knew what he had in store, you wouldn't waste another second crying over what's behind you. You'd be praising him for removing what wasn't meant for your destiny. The problem is, too many people hold on to disappointment instead of holding on to faith. They sit in frustration, questioning why things didn't go their way. But what if that closed door was actually a blessing in disguise? What if that relationship ending saved you from years of heartache? What if that lost job was clearing the way for something far better? What if what you thought was for you was never meant to be yours in the first place? When you start looking at closed doors as redirection instead of rejection, that's when your faith grows. You don't have to understand everything to trust that God knows what he's doing. Sometimes he will close doors so that you don't settle for less than what he has planned. He will block paths that lead to destruction. He will remove people who aren't meant to walk with you into your next season. And when that happens, don't chase after what he has already removed. Let it go. Trust that if God took it away, it wasn't necessary for where he's taking you. And this is where true peace begins, when you stop fighting for what's not meant for you and start embracing what is. When you stop looking at closed doors as losses and start seeing them as signs that something greater is coming. When you understand that the one who created your path knows exactly where he's leading you. And when you trust in that, you stop looking back and start moving forward into the future that was always meant to be. Faith isn't about having all the answers, it's about trusting even when you have none. Too many people want to see the whole picture before they take a step. They want to know exactly how things will turn out before they move forward. But that's not how faith works. Faith is walking into the unknown, believing that God has already gone before you, preparing the way. It's stepping out even when you're unsure, knowing that He won't let you fall. Life doesn't always make sense. There are moments when everything feels like it's falling apart, when doors close and opportunities slip through your fingers, and when the road ahead looks dark. It's in those moments that faith is tested the most. Will you trust even when you don't understand? Will you believe even when everything around you is uncertain? That's what faith is, holding on, not because you see the way, but because you know the one who is leading you. The truth is, if you could see every detail of your future, faith wouldn't be necessary. If you knew exactly how every situation would turn out, you wouldn't need to trust. But God doesn't work like that. He asks you to walk by faith, not by sight. He asks you to believe that even in the confusion, even in the waiting, even in the struggle, He is still in control. And when you truly trust that, you stop stressing over what you don't know and start resting in what you do know. God is faithful. Too many people miss out on their blessings because they're afraid to move without full clarity. But the greatest breakthroughs happen when you step out in faith, even when the path ahead isn't clear. Faith activates miracles. Faith opens doors that logic never could. Faith moves mountains that seem impossible. And when you trust, even when you don't understand, you position yourself for something far greater than you could ever plan your own. And this is where true peace comes in, when you let go of the need to know everything and surrender it to the wonder. So when you stop demanding answers and start trusting the process, when you stop letting fear control your steps and start allowing faith to guide you forward. Because when you walk in faith, you're not walking alone. God is already ahead of you, making a way. Too many people are living in the past, holding on to things that no longer serve them. They keep replaying old memories, revisiting past mistakes, and trying to revive situations that have already run their course. But the truth is, you can't move forward while you're still holding on to what's behind you. Whether it's a broken relationship, a lost job, or a missed opportunity, some things are meant to end. When something is dead, no amount of wishing, hoping, or forcing will bring it back to life. A closed chapter is not a punishment, it's preparation. Sometimes things fall apart because they were never meant to be permanent. That relationship that broke your heart, maybe it ended because God was protecting you from something you couldn't see. That job you lost, maybe it was never supposed to be your final destination, that mistake you made. Maybe it was a lesson, not a life sentence. Holding on to the past will only keep you from stepping into the future that's waiting for you. Some people hold on to pain because they think it defines them. They carry their heartbreak, their failures, and their regrets like a badge of honor, as if letting go means forgetting what they've been through. But letting go doesn't mean you erase the past. It means you stop letting it control your present. It means you take the lessons, release the pain, and trust that what's ahead is far greater than what's behind. The only way to step into a new season is to let go of the old one. When something no longer grows, when it no longer brings peace, when it no longer aligns with where God is taking you, it's time to release it. Holding on to what's already dead only drains you of the energy you need for what's next. It's like carrying around a suitcase full of things you'll never use everywhere you send brightly. But the moment you put it down, you feel lighter, freer, and ready for what's ahead. Letting go isn't losing, it's making space for what's truly meant for you. And this is where real transformation begins, when you stop clinging to what's already gone and start embracing what's still possible. When you stop looking back with regret and start looking forward with faith. When you understand that every ending is also a beginning, because when you trust that God is leading you, you don't have to fear what's next, you just have to be willing to step into it. Look around at the world, at the birds flying freely in the sky, at the waves in the ocean moving in perfect rhythm, at the trees standing tall, reaching toward the sun. None of them worry about tomorrow. None of them stress about where their next meal will come from, or whether they will survive the next season. They exist in perfect trust, knowing that their Creator provides everything they need. And if He takes care of them, how much more will He take care of you? Too many people live in constant worry, stressing over money, opportunities, relationships, and the future. They think they have to figure everything out on their own, as if they are the sole providers for their lives. But provision doesn't come from stress, it comes from trust. The same God who designed the world with such intricate detail, who placed the stars in the sky and gave the ocean its boundaries, is the same one who is watching over your life. He already knows what you need before you even ask. Think about the birds. They don't plant seeds, build barns, or store up food, yet every day they have what they need. They wake up singing, knowing that provision will come. Now think about how much more valuable you are. You weren't created to struggle through life in fear, wondering how things will work out. You were created to walk in faith, believing that just as God cares for every creature, He will care for you too. Provision doesn't always come in the way you expect, but it always comes in the way you need. Sometimes you're looking for a financial breakthrough and instead God sends an opportunity. Sometimes you're praying for a way out and He gives you the strength to endure. Sometimes you're asking for a door to open and He redirects you to something even better. When you trust in His provision, you realize that everything is happening for your good, even when you don't see it yet. And this is where peace begins, when you stop worrying about what you don't have and start trusting in what's already being provided. When you stop stressing over the future and start believing that you're already being taken care of. When you understand that just as the birds never go a day without what they need, you too will never be without the provision that was meant for you. Because when you trust in that truth, you stop living in fear and start walking in faith. You cannot expect new blessings to flow into your life while you're still holding on to the old ones. It's like trying to fill a cup that's already full. If you want something new, something greater, you have to release what's already inside. Too many people are praying for a breakthrough, for a miracle, for new opportunity, but they're still holding on to the things that are blocking those very blessings. The truth is, your hands can't receive what God is trying to give you when they're already full of fear, bitterness, guilt, and past disappointments. Think about it. Every time you hold anger from the past, resentment towards someone who hurt you, or the regret of a mistake, you're holding yourself back from moving forward. The more you carry this emotional and spiritual baggage, the more it weighs and weighs you down. You can't climb higher while dragging a heavy load behind you. You can't rise to the next level in your life while still anchored by the pain, mistakes, and disappointments of yesterday. If you want to move forward, you must first let go of what's holding you back. God wants to bless you. He wants to pour out favor and opportunities over your life, but He also wants you to be ready to receive them. If you're holding on to bitterness, unforgiveness, or fear, you're creating a barrier between yourself and God's blessing. The energy and focus you spend on holding on to that baggage, the same energy that could use to move you towards your breakthrough. Releasing the past isn't just about letting go of things, it's about making space for the blessings that God has in store for you. When you choose to release what's blocking you, you're opening yourself up to the full potential of what God has for your life. It's like cleaning out a closet full of old clothes that no longer fit. The more you clear out, the more room there is for something new. When you let go of the past, you're creating space for fresh starts, for new relationships, for opportunities that align with the purpose God has placed on your life. And the moment you release what's holding you back, that's when the breakthroughs begin to happen. And this is where true transformation occurs, when you stop carrying what's not yours to carry and start trusting that God is handling what you can't. When you release the past, you make room for the future He has prepared for you. When you let go of fear, doubt, and pain, you open your hands to the blessings that are waiting for you. And when you trust that God's plan is better than anything you could hold on to, that's when you position yourself for the breakthrough you've been praying for. There are times in life when we experience loss, whether it's a relationship that ends, a job that's taken away, or a dream that doesn't come to fruition. In those moments, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart. We question why something good was taken from us. And we struggle to understand what went wrong. But here's the truth. When God removes something from your life, it's not a punishment. It's a preparation for something better. He's not taking away your joy. He's making room for greater blessings that you can't even imagine yet. Often we get so attached to what we have in the moment that we can't see the bigger picture. We think that what we've lost is the best we'll ever get, and we hold on to it with all our strength. But God sees the path ahead. He knows what lies around the corner, and sometimes what's best for us is beyond what we're holding on to. Letting go doesn't mean we've lost, it means we've made space for something far greater. If you could see what God has in store, you wouldn't waste another second clinging to what He's trying to move you away from. There's a reason why some things don't work out. It's not that you weren't good enough or that you didn't deserve it. It's that what God has planned for you is on a whole new level. Sometimes we can't see what's ahead because we're too focused on what's behind. But just like the Israelites in the wilderness, God's plan for you is better than anything you've experienced before. What He's taken you to is far more beautiful than anything you're leaving behind. Trust that He's leading you to a place of greater peace, greater purpose, and greater joy. Every time something is removed from your life, it's an opportunity for something better to take its place. When you release what no longer serves you, whether it's a relationship, a job, or a dream, you're making room for new blessings. God doesn't just want you to settle for the good things in life. He wants you to have the best. Sometimes we have to let go of the good so we can receive the great. Trusting that God is something better means believing that He knows what's best for you, even when you can't see it yet. This is where your faith is tested, when you can let go and trust that something greater is on the way. When you stop clinging to what you think you can't live without, and open your heart to what God is bringing your way. When you trust that the future He has for you is far more incredible than the past you're holding on to, that's when the doors start to open. And when you let go, you make room for the new blessings that God has prepared for you. In those moments when everything seems to be falling apart, when the struggle feels too heavy to bear, and when it feels like giving up would be the easiest thing to do, that's often when your breakthrough is the closest. The enemy wants you to believe that you're at the end of the road, that it's all over, and that there's no way forward. But what he doesn't want you to know is that you're standing right on the edge of something big. When the pressure's the highest, it's often when the breakthrough is closest. You are closer than you think to the answer you've been praying for. Too many people crack before the breakthrough comes. They give up when things seem the hardest, believing the lie that nothing will ever change. What if I told you that the moment you feel like giving up is the exact moment when you need to push just a little bit harder? The enemy wants to discourage you because he knows that your persistence is about to pay off. He wants you to stop believing that change is coming. But don't give in to that lie. Your miracle is closer than you realize. Keep pressing forward, because the breakthrough you've been waiting for is within reach. It's easy to look at your current situation and think it's hopeless. It's easy to look at the obstacles and the roadblocks and assume that it's just not meant to be. But that's not the truth. The truth is that you're on the verge of a breakthrough. God has been preparing you for this moment. Every struggle, every setback, and every tear has been shaping you for what's to come. You might not see it yet, but your time is coming. Your effort is not in vain, and your faith is about to be rewarded. Hold on a little longer, because what you've been waiting for is right around the corner. The enemy's job is to distract you, to get you to focus on your doubts, and to make you believe that nothing good is coming your way. But when you shift your focus from the current struggle to the promise of what's ahead, you'll start to see things differently. Instead of feeling defeated, you'll feel encouraged. Instead of thinking it's too late, you will realize that it's just the right time. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. And every challenge you're facing is only preparing you for what God has planned for you next. And this is where your faith will carry you through, when you stop believing the lies of the enemy and start trusting in the truth of God's promises. When you recognize that the struggle you're in is temporary, but the breakthrough you're about to experience is eternal. When you hold on just a little bit longer, knowing that your faith will be rewarded. Keep pressing forward, because the breakthrough is closer than you think, and it's worth every step of the journey. If you're still breathing, it means you're not finished yet. No matter how the road has been, no matter how many setbacks you've faced, or how many times you felt like giving up, as long as you're still alive, your purpose is still ahead. Every breath you take is a reminder that God is not done with you or you. He still has a plan for your life. There's still something great waiting for you on the other side of everything you've been through. If you're still here, that means there's more for you to accomplish, more for you to give, and more for you to experience. It's easy to get discouraged when you feel like you're stuck, or when it seems like life is moving slower than you hoped. You might feel like you've missed your chance, or that your purpose is too far out of reach. But here's the truth: God's timing is always perfect. And as long as you're still breathing, your purpose hasn't passed you by. Every moment, every season of life is preparing you for what's next. Even the struggles and challenges are part of the process, molding you into the person you need to be for the purpose He has set before you. Sometimes you might feel like you're walking through a season of uncertainty, and it can be hard to see the path ahead. But just because you can't see the end of the road doesn't mean God isn't leading you. You don't have to have the entire plan figured out. All you need to do is keep walking in faith, step by step, trusting that He is guiding you. Even when it feels like you're walking through a dark valley, trust that the light is coming. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything in your favor. Your purpose is still ahead, and every step you take is getting you closer to it. The enemy wants you to think that your best days are behind you, that you've missed your opportunity, or that you're too old or too far gone to fulfill your purpose. But that's a lie. As long as you're breathing, God has a plan for you. He's not done with you. Your greatest impact, your greatest season, and your greatest victories are still to come. They don't let the enemy convince you that it's over. Don't let discouragement steal your faith. The best is yet to come, and you're still in the game. So keep walking in faith. Keep trusting, even when you don't understand. Keep believing when it feels like everything is falling apart. Your purpose is still ahead, and God is still with you, guiding you every step of the way. When you take each step in faith, even when you don't see the next one clearly, you're positioning yourself for what God has planned for you. Keep walking, because your story is not over yet, and your purpose is still unfolding. When you try to control every aspect of your life, you end up holding yourself back. You can't move forward if you're constantly looking over your shoulder, worrying about what might happen next, or trying to make everything exactly the way you planned. Life doesn't always unfold according to your schedule, and that's okay. The key to peace and progress is releasing the need for control. When you let go and let God work, you stop trying to dictate every move and start trusting that He has a better plan for your life than you could ever imagine. Fear and doubt are two of the greatest barriers to the miracles you're waiting for. They cloud your judgment, stop you from taking the steps you need to move forward, and prevent you from seeing the possibilities around you. When you hold on to fear, you limit what God can do in your life. He's not asking you to have it all figured out, but He's asking you to trust Him with the unknowns. When you release fear and let go of doubt, you create the space for God to show up and show out in your life in ways that will leave you amazed. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of faith. It's acknowledging that you don't have to have everything under control because you trust that God is in control. You don't need to figure it all out because He already has the answers. When you stop trying to control your circumstances and instead give them over to Him, you open yourself up to receive the blessings, miracles, and breakthroughs that are waiting for you. God works in spaces where we allow Him to, and the more we let go, the more He can do in our lives. Miracles happen when we step out of the way and let God move. The miracles you're praying for, the changes you've been hoping for, all require you to trust God enough to let go. There's a power in surrender. When you release control, you align yourself with God's will, and that's when He can work through you. It's not that you don't have a part to play, it's that your role isn't to force things into existence. And your role is to walk in faith and trust that the one who created you knows exactly how to guide you to your destiny. And this is where the transformation happens, when you stop holding on and start releasing. When you trust God to work, not just in your life, but through you. When you let go of the things you can't control and make room for miracles to take place. Because when you release fear, doubt, and control, that's when God's power can truly move. That's when your life will begin to shift in ways you couldn't have planned for. And your faith will grow in ways you never thought possible. You think God brought you this far to fail. You think He woke you up today for no reason. No, if you're still breathing, He hadn't even done with you yet. You still got a purpose. You still got something great ahead. But you got to trust Him. You got to release the fear, release the doubt, release the stress, release the pain. Let go of what's behind you so you can step into what's ahead. Let go of what you lost so you can receive what's coming. Let go of your timeline and trust God's timing. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to understand it all. You just have to believe. You just have to walk in faith. You just have to let go and let God. Now, if this message spoke to you, if you know you needed to hear this today, I need you to do something for me. Subscribe to Motivational Fire. Hit the like button and share this with somebody who needs to hear it. Because I promise you, there's somebody out there holding on to something they need to let go of. And you might be the one to help set them free. God bless you. Keep walking in faith. And remember, when you let go and trust God, that's when miracles happen.